confronting my wife's affair partner today. I caught them and confronted her about the affair 3 months ago. She apologized profusely and told me she still wanted to be with me. Wanted to save our marriage, counseling, etc. We've been in couples and individual counseling. She's outwardly told me all the right things. She loves me and only me, wants to fix things. Doesn't want a divorce, etc. She gave me access to her phone but told me she doesn't want to catch me sneakily going through it. She swears up and down that she's on the straight and narrow to repairing our broken trust. Except, she is still seeing him. I found out, and kept it to myself. I plan to serve her divorce papers tomorrow. But first I'm going to confront her AP to see what other lies she's been telling me. I know they've talked on the phone a dozen times since I found out and told her she had to go no contact. She swears she hasn't been in contact with him, but the phone records don't lie. They text almost every day. She's obviously deleting them from her phone because I haven't seen them there. But she doesn't know deleting them on her phone doesn't delete them from her iPad. So at the moment, I'm sitting in a car outside of his house, waiting for him or his wife to leave for work. If he leaves, I'm going to follow him to where he works and confront him there. If she leaves first, I'm going to go knock on his door. Update. I'll start with last night. I got home from work, made dinner and sat down to eat. My wife asked me how my day was. I relied, uneventful. That was the extent of it. We ate, played with the kids and put them to bed like everything was normal. She and I sat down in our bedroom to watch TV and she said nothing. For like 2 hours. Finally, after our shows were over, she spoke. I'm going to bed. And that was it. No confrontation, no discussion, nothing. She went to bed and I stayed up playing video games for another couple of hours before I went to bed myself. I slept like shit, and finally woke up at 5 a.m. The reason I wanted to serve her today was that we had a marriage counseling session over the lunch hour. I had already read our therapist in on what I intended to do. So when we sat down and started the session, I didn't wait. I talked to AP yesterday. Yeah, I talked to him too. Yeah, I know. I don't get it. Why would you go talk to him? Because I needed answers to some questions I had and you weren't being honest with me. Oh yeah. Well, what did he tell you? Honey, he sold you down the river. What does that mean? He told me everything about what you guys have been doing. The sneaking around, the secret meetings, the lovey-dovey phone calls, everything. Shocked he told you. Yeah, everything. I then went on to list out all of the details I already knew of their texts, calls, meetings, dates, times, etc. She started to bawl. So it's clear to me that while you've been in here telling me one thing, your actions tell a completely different story. So I'm done. What do you mean you're done? Hands her divorce papers. I want a divorce. She took the paperwork in her hands like it was a venomous snake and stared at it. She then looked to the therapist for help. How do I fix this? I don't want a divorce. I want you. I want our life. I want to stay. Therapist, do you see where confronting a P is coming from? When your words and your actions are telling conflicting stories, you always believe the actions, not the words. Your actions have told me all I need to know. How do we move forward from here without fighting, without vitriol, without dragging our children through the mud? The rest of the session was surprisingly cordial. There were a lot of tears on both sides. I expressed how betrayed and angry I am that she would continue this affair behind my back, thinking of me as the lovable idiot who would never know. She cried because her entire life as she knows it is ending. I told her I cut off her money supply, that she can use half of what we have to hire a divorce attorney. I told her she cannot live in our home anymore. She will need to go stay with family or friends. I told her I was done, and that there is no chance for reconciliation. She cried more. When we walked out of the appointment, she grabbed my hand and made another last-ditch effort to garner my forgiveness. I pulled my hand away and told her in no uncertain terms that was done, and I did not want her in my life anymore. She fell to the ground, sobbing. I walked out the door and left her like that. As I drove away from the therapist's office, I called AP's wife and left her a voicemail, saying, I really need to speak with you. Please call me back ASAP. I then called my attorney and told her to file the paperwork, but to hold on the TRO unless things got ugly. My wife called and texted me several times after I left. I let them go to VM and haven't listened to them yet. I felt dead inside as I drove to her parents' house. Before I walked in, my phone rang. It was AP's wife, calling me back. He hadn't said anything to her. I told her I needed to meet with her in person. Could I meet up with her in an hour? She said yes, and we set a place and time. I walked into her parents' house and told them everything. Her mom started to bawl immediately. Her dad sat there, stone-faced. I told them that I love her and I tried to make it work, but that I refused to stand there while she continued to cheat on me behind my back. They were so totally shaken that it was hard to gauge their feelings. I told them that I wouldn't slander her or spread the truth around our friends and family, but that they needed to know the truth about why we are divorcing. I told them that I don't expect them to support me in all of this, and frankly I want them to support her because she's going to need it. This all goes back to my kids. If she cannot afford a decent place to live, I don't want my kids living in squalor during the time they spend with her. Her parents can, and will, support her financially. I told them I loved them, and that I would miss our relationship. Her dad and I shook hands and I hugged her mom before I left. Then I drove to the meeting place to meet AP's wife. I'm sitting in the car now, waiting for her to show up. I plan to tell her, show her the video if need be, and let her make the decision on how to proceed from there. If she needs me to be a source of emotional support, I will offer that. No one should have to suffer through this alone. So that's been my day. I still have to meet with AP's wife, pick up my kids from school and change the locks on my house. I have a security system set up at home, so if she chooses to steal or damage anything, it will be on video. She knows that, too, so I'm not too worried about it. More to come. Update 2. So shortly after I posted my last update, AP's wife showed up to our meeting place. I could tell she knew something was up as soon as I got out of the car. She tried playing it off, friendly-like, but I could tell she knew something was up. I told her, I have something I need to tell you. It's not going to be fun or easy to hear, and I'm sorry that this is happening to you. To us, my wife and your husband have been having an affair. She started to sob immediately. I had to continue. I found out about it 3 months ago. At that, her head snapped up and she had rage in her eyes. 3 fucking months ago. Why the fuck are you just telling me now? So I had to explain how I found out, what I did when I confronted my STBXW, and how we were going through marriage counseling to save our marriage. She listened, nodding until I got to the part where I found out that they were still seeing each other. Then she started crying again. Look, I have to stop here for a second. I'm crying now, as I write this. I feel awful just putting this out in the world, like I'm spreading someone else's misery around. She did nothing to deserve this. Truth be told, I feel absolutely horrible about telling her. She had no idea. She told me she was wondering why I called her, and she figured it was something bad about her husband. But she had no idea that the affair was going on, that it was happening with my wife, that I had caught them, or that they had continued the relationship after being outed. Her entire world was crushed. And then I asked if she wanted to see the video. I have to laugh, actually. She thought I had a sex video of the two of them, and at first was disgusted that I would even offer to show that to her. No, I responded. I met with AP yesterday and confronted him about all of this, and he admitted to it. I have a video of our conversation. She thought about it for a moment and said that she wanted to see it. I had taken some time yesterday to edit the video down, since it was roughly 20 minutes of him hemming and hawing and lying and denying things. I had edited a few choice pieces into a roughly 60-second clip, which I played for her. In it, he apologizes to me, tells me he fucked up, and shares a few more details about their ongoing relationship. She started crying again as soon as I hit play and she saw his face, and I stopped it and asked if she was sure. She was, and I let the video play out. At this point, there wasn't much more to say. I told her how sorry I was to be the person telling her. She thanked me for opening her eyes. I told her I knew exactly how she felt, because I was feeling the same things 3 months ago when I found out. I told her that if she needed to talk, if she needed to vent, if she wanted to scream obscenities, she could call me and I would be there for her. She thanked me, we hugged, and left it at that. I honestly don't know what she is going to do now, but I'm sure it won't be good news for AP. I truly feel awful for her, and for her children. I hopped in the car and headed home. My phone had been blowing up during our conversation. My STBXW had been trying to reach me since I left her earlier today. I had checked the security footage at home, and she hadn't been home yet. So I headed there. When I got there, she was sitting in the driveway smoking. As soon as she saw my car, she started screaming. You told my fucking parents, you low-life piece of shit. I hit record on my phone and stuck it in the front pocket of my shirt so I could get it all on video. I got out of the car in the driveway and answered her. Yes, I did. They deserve to know the truth about why we are divorcing. I didn't lie or make anything up. I told them the truth, and I told them that they should love and support you through all of this. Took the wind right out of her sails. She went from rage to being a bawling mess in seconds. She kept apologizing, asking what she could do to fix things, telling me she never wanted any of this, etc., etc., etc. I listened, and when she finally ran out of things to say, I responded. I told you everything I had to say at the therapist's office today. I have nothing more to say about this. I'll pick up the kids from school and feed them dinner. You're welcome to get some things, but you cannot stay here tonight. I suggest staying with your parents. At this, she got angry. You can't keep me from my children. No, I responded. I don't intend to keep you from our children. But given the state you are in right now, I don't think it would be a good idea for them to see you like this. I'll tell them you went to stay with Graham and Gramps for a few days because Gramps has been sick and Graham needs some help around the house. They will understand that, and they won't question it. But we need to decide how and when we are going to tell them about this. and it needs to be before the end of this week." She started sobbing again. My heart broke for her in that moment. I saw the woman I loved, the woman I married, the woman I pledged to spend my life with, raw and emotional and lost and hopeless. I hugged her and told her I was sorry that this was happening, but that this was the result of her decisions, and that I would no longer stand by and be married to a woman who would treat me like this. We stood there and embraced for a long time, her crying into my shoulder in the driveway. Finally, she pulled away and tried to kiss me. I pulled back and said, "That's not going to happen." She broke down again, and I turned and walked into the house. I went into the kitchen and fixed myself a very stiff drink. After 20 minutes or so, I heard her come into the house. She quietly went to our bedroom and I could hear her packing a bag. I stayed in the kitchen, and she found me there with her suitcase packed. "I hope you're happy," she told me. "I'm not happy at all," I responded. "I didn't want this. I wanted you. I wanted us. I wanted a wife who would love me and treat me with kindness. And instead, I got this. So no, I'm not happy at all." She screamed at me. "Then why are you doing this? Why are you throwing away everything we have?" "I'm not," I responded. "You threw all of this away when you went back to AP. Now I'm just cleaning up the pieces." She screamed a few more choice obscenities at me, but I wouldn't rise to take her bait. When she realized I wasn't going to engage with her, she left, slamming the door so hard it knocked a picture frame off of the wall in the back hallway. I heard her screech out of the driveway, and she left. I finished my drink, and replayed the video of her screaming and cursing at me. If things get bad, I've got enough video evidence to keep myself protected. Legally, I picked up the kids after school and brought them home. I explained that Mom is going to be staying with G&G for a few days. The kids were sad, but didn't ask questions. We played, ate dinner, and they are getting ready for bed. I haven't heard from STBXW, AP or AP's wife in several hours. The house is going to be very quiet once the kids go to bed, and frankly, I may sit here with my bottle and just pour myself a few more drinks before bed. I'm not looking forward to the confrontation. Blindsided my wife with divorce papers after I found out she was cheating. My wife, 29 of 7 years, had cheated on me with one of her longtime friends in mid-July. I discovered text messages back and forth between them after getting suspicious and finally checking her phone. The texts I read were from a day after D-Day, about how good their sex was. "I love you," and even discussing a mild fight we had where she recounted things I said and they both laughed about it. I tried to explain that we may be entering a new stage of marriage where we are comfortable and complacent. It might feel a little boring, but maybe that's just how things get once you're married for more than a few years. But she is convinced that is wrong and we've drifted apart, despite spending our days together full of good conversation, good sex, etc. She doesn't know that I know. I've talked to a lawyer and have divorce papers in the works. Note, this is the second time she did this. The first time she cheated when we were dating. We had a 6-month split, worked things out, got back together, and later married. On the rare occasions we talk about her past infidelity, I've told her if she ever does it again, we're done. We've been fine for 6 years with no problems. About a year ago she began getting a little colder and wouldn't accept my affection. Things like she didn't hug me back at all. I guess this distance culminated in her affair. Fast forward to today. I've known for 3 weeks and have been waiting for paperwork before confronting her. At first she was clearly not interested in me, but this week she seems to be feeling more guilty about her actions, and a little more interested in me. She has been trying to do what she can to make up for her actions in her own way, all without us never talking about it. Like washing dishes, cleaning, cooking, all while refusing any help. It's like she is punishing herself. In my mind she has completely betrayed me and I can no longer trust her. She has caused me such pain and cannot possibly love me if she is able to do all that. Financially we have been okay but struggled a bit because she doesn't want to work. She is finally working for a year but it's a min-wage part-time job and barely covers her bills. I feel like I have to pull all the weight and she is not really my equal. At the same time I still care about her, value the life we built, and will worry about what will happen to her. I think she could easily fall into a deep depression. There is really only one way forward and that is divorce, but I am worried about how she will take it and it will be hard to resist taking her back. I almost wish she would happily leave with her new person. I know I have to divorce her, but not looking forward to the heartbreak, loneliness, and whatever else I can't even predict. How do I do this?